Hello, everyone. This is Brandon from TaToG Tech, and welcome to another episode of Linux Sundays. That's right. That's the air horn, so you know it's Linux Sunday. All right. So what I wanted to go ahead and do today is go ahead and kick off a new series for the Linux Sunday series, where you get the opportunity to learn Linux alongside me. As I've stated in previous videos, this channel is really to not only help you, but also to help me learning through my own journey through the tech world. So I wanted to go ahead and start a series with learning Linux with Brandon from TaToG Tech, so that we can go ahead and work through this together. You can learn along with me. We're going to start with the very fundamental basics of learning Linux and just work our way through. I can't say that I'm going to go ahead and start doing this every single Sunday. I may switch, I may not. I really would like to continue this. I'm going to be doing it in two separate series. And when I say series, I mean I guess more like seasons. In season one, we will be doing we will be following along with Ryan's tutorials. And if you saw the first episode of Linux Sunday, I did introduce you to that free resource to learn Linux. So we're going to go ahead and work through that together, and I'll actually go ahead and bring some of that up um, once we get to that point. Now, one of the things that you may be wondering is why on earth does he have a Windows virtual machine on a Windows desktop? Well, the reason that I have it done this way is because I am assuming that many of you will be utilizing a Windows desktop when you're starting your Linux journey. Now, there are videos out there detailing a lot of this in the Mac space. And if you do need me to cover it, or at least find you an article, just go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I will do my best to find you an article. Usually, what I do recommend is just to do a quick, search engine search. You can use Google, Yahoo, or DuckDuckGo or any of them to be able to go ahead and find what it is that you're looking for. Just make sure that you're when you're doing your search, make sure to reference the version of the operating system that you're utilizing. Today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm basically going to be setting up our journey to start learning Linux together. Now, the reason I'm starting here with a virtual machine is because this Windows machine that I'm working on currently already has VirtualBox installed on it, and I wanted to go ahead and go through that process with you so that you're able to go ahead and see how that's done on a Windows machine. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is just a clean install of a Windows virtual machine into VirtualBox. So I haven't installed any additional software on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and go up here to Edge, and we will do VirtualBox download. All right, perfect. We'll do our search here, and I'm just going to use Bing because it's already here and it's slightly simpler. All right, here we go. Got plenty of options here. We want to go ahead and do the one from Oracle here, so we're just going to go ahead and do this option right here. Whoops, actually, hold on. Sorry. Let's go ahead and go to this one right here, the one that says downloads. I apologize. All right, and here's where we're actually going to be downloading the software for our Windows system. Now, right here is where we actually have the VirtualBox program itself. We're going to be downloading two things. The first thing is going to be the program files for the exe rather for the Windows system here, and then we're also going to be downloading and adding this extension pack. This will support USB 2, USB 3 devices, VirtualBox RDP, which is remote desktop protocol, disk encryption, NVMe, and Pixie Boot for Intel cards. You can go ahead and go through the manual and see all of the all of the extension pack adds. I'm not going to go into that. You can go ahead um, and utilize their link right here, and it'll go ahead and go into all that. So let's go ahead and start up here with the one for Windows host, and we're just going to go ahead and hit run. Let it download. This will take just a few seconds. It's a pretty lightweight program for the most part. Go ahead and minimize that. Hit click next. Click next. Go ahead and I don't need either of these here. Those are going to be solely up to yourself and in your preferences. Hit next. And then it does let you know that it will be disconnecting you from the network. It's fine. That's perfectly normal. And then click install. Let it do its thing. Click yes. Keep in mind that you will need administrative privileges if you don't have them already. So make sure that you have those prior to going ahead and installing a VirtualBox. I just use the default account on this virtual machine here. Most people do too. So it shouldn't be much of a problem. All right, and we'll go ahead and allow it to start. Pretty quick installation. All right, perfect. Now let's go ahead and go back to our Edge browser here. Let's go down here and click on this. It's the same file for all systems. Oops, whoops, we don't need to do that. Let's just go ahead and hit escape now that we do have that downloaded. Now let's go back to our VirtualBox program. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and go up to File. We're going to click on Preferences. You could also do it there from the menu at the top. We're going to go down to Extensions, and right now it is blank. Click this little box with the plus sign in it. Go to your... Don't see it here in the Downloads file. One moment, folks. Stand by. Let me just make sure that it is indeed properly. And it go ahead and go back, and we'll do it a little bit differently this time. We're going to go ahead and go in here. And we're just going to do a save. I believe that's what I did wrong. So let's go ahead and go back here, go up to Preferences, Extensions, there, and boom, there it is. And you can tell this is a live show because I will be making errors along the way, and sometimes these episodes might get a little long with me troubleshooting things. But hey, a little extra educational material for both of us. So you're definitely going to get your money's worth. All right, so let's go ahead and hit open, and it's going to ask to install. It's going to ask you, the license here, and then agree. Go ahead and hit agree. It will not let you install it unless you agree. All right, perfect. And boom, now we've got a fully functional version of VirtualBox on our Windows machine. So perfect. All right. So I'm actually going to go ahead and exit out of this Windows virtual machine. What we're actually going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you pretty much the front to back process for installing a Linux operating system within VirtualBox. Which will include installation as well as installing the guest editions. Guest editions does allow you for a little bit of additional functionality within your actual virtual machine. So we definitely want to go ahead and install those as well. For this particular tutorial, we're actually going to be using Lubuntu, which is basically just a lightweight version of Ubuntu, a little easier on the resources. So I'm not sure what everybody's working with. This should make things a little easier for you as you're installing this, because I know that some folks out there may not necessarily have the most powerful, may not have the most up-to-date equipment, and that is perfectly fine. I want to give you a Linux distribution that you can run, on a single core as well as a single gigabyte of RAM. You honestly could run this on even less RAM. I will be using more just to go ahead and speed up the educational process. So you're not so we can at least cut out some of that. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you where to download it from. I've already downloaded the image here to my downloads, so I'm not actually gonna be letting you sit through that because it does take about 2 to 3 minutes, and I don't want you to have to worry about going through that dead space. But let's go ahead and do that. Now you can use any browser. Really, it's all gonna be the same. We're gonna go ahead and just do our Google search or our search engine search. So let's go ahead and just do Lubuntu. And we're going to use the most up-to-date version, which is 20.04. And just go ahead and hit enter. Perfect. And it's got it right here. We're going to download it, so you can just click downloads here. It does have the most recent long-term version right here, which is going to be based on the most recent version of the Ubuntu distribution. All right, so and here it's got the 18.04.5. If you want to download that, and you can use that one, most functionality and everything should be the same, at least as far as the core functionality goes. So it's going to be really up to yourself. So I've already downloaded this, so we don't need to do that again. But you would just go ahead and just do that, and then go ahead and save the file. But let's go ahead and get started with installing our distribution. So now the first thing that you want to do while you're inside of VirtualBox is I'm just going to close that out. I'm going to close this out, and we're going to go ahead and click New, because basically what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be setting up a new virtual machine. So let's go ahead and you can title it whatever you want. I'm just going to do Ubuntu 20.04 Linux on. All right, now make sure this says Ubuntu. Sometimes it gets it wrong. Shouldn't really impact much functionality regardless of what the version says here. I just like to make sure that everything is reflecting accurately. All right, so let's go ahead and hit next. Once you've got your name, this is going to actually show you where it saves the virtual machines. You can move that to a different location if you'd like. You want to set it up on an external drive, or an SD card, or whatever the case is. I'm going to be doing it directly here on on my C drive. It's actually the only drive that I have on this one. I don't plan on doing it on any external media. So let's go ahead and hit next. And here you go. You can go ahead and pick how much RAM you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and do 4 gigabytes, and I'm not always the biggest math person, so 1024 times 4, which is 4096. Some of you may have already known that, but I like to make sure. And I'm gonna update that to 4096. Honestly, with Lubuntu, you could probably get away with as much as 512 megabits of memory. I honestly have not tested it with the most recent run. If you do run into any issues, you can go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I'll see if I can get back to you in regards to it. If not, then just really just do a search for lightweight Linux distribution, and preferably I would probably would want to use one that is based on Ubuntu, or at least Debian, which is what Ubuntu is based off of. And but you can really use pretty much any Linux distribution for the most part. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my 4 gigabytes of RAM here. I'm gonna go ahead and create a virtual hard disk. Now, you have a couple of them, couple different options here. I just leave it as the default, the VirtualBox disk image. And I like to do a fixed allocation. I like to do a fixed allocated size, because if you have a smaller hard drive, you may want to use dynamically allocated, because basically what it'll do is it'll set aside a total of, say 15 gigabytes, and it'll basically hold on to that 15 gigabytes, but it won't actually allocate it until it actually gets there. I like to make sure that I have the space, and you also get a lot better functionality if you do just a fixed size. So I would highly recommend doing it that way. We're just gonna go ahead. We'll just do. We're just gonna do a 25 gigabyte hard drive size. That may not be. We may not need all of that, but I like to do that just in case, because you never know where we're actually gonna get led. Go ahead and hit create. It will take a little bit more time to create this, because it's actually setting aside that space and making sure that it has that space there. So give it just a little bit here. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. It really also just depends on size. Like if you were to do this with, 75, 100 gigabytes, it would take quite a long time. So hopefully this doesn't take too long. Now, dynamically allocating will end up taking care of this much sooner, but like I said, I prefer the much smoother functionality with it. It's kind of like having your system on a solid state drive, which is going to be much quicker as far as reading and writing programs than you will with a mechanical hard drive, just due to the way that solid state drives are designed. Now we've got the basics of our machine created. Now you're going to go ahead and go in here to the settings, which is just that little cog at the top. You can also do it through right-clicking and hitting settings. It's going to be solely up to yourself and what works for you. I just go up here. All right, now there's quite a few things you can do. If you need to adjust your RAM here, you can go to the system and adjust it there. You can go ahead and adjust the processor cores right here. I'm gonna go with 2, just to give me a little bit more responsiveness. You can go ahead and also adjust your display, your video memory, which is like your graphics memory. 16 megabytes should be fine for a simple VM. We shouldn't need anything really more than that. If you want to use it across more than one monitor, you can, which is where those guest editions that I mentioned earlier will actually come into play. And you can also adjust your graphics controller as well as acceleration through here if you'd like. The place that we were really looking for here is we're going to look at storage. We can go ahead and upload our disk image, our ISO file rather, of a Lubuntu to go ahead and sure that is going to be what we're installing. All right, and see, here it is what we downloaded in our downloads file. So let's just open. Now, you can do other things here. I'm not going to get into this, but this is where you would add, USB devices. This is any serial port devices and networking. If you want to get into all that, that's not something I will be covering at this time. If we do get to a point where any of this stuff may become relevant, we will go ahead. I will go ahead and we will go ahead and go over that at that time, just as we did today. So not to worry. All right, so that's really all that we really need to worry about adjusting here. This is the most important thing here. You can leave, like I said, that 1 gigabyte of RAM, as well as leaving that that single processor core, or you can give it more. You could really trick this thing out. You want to give it 8 cores, you can. You want to give it 10 gigabytes of RAM, go for it. It's really going to be up to you. And you can always go back and adjust it. It will not stay fixed. So let's just go ahead and click OK, and all of that there is done. So let's go ahead and hit start. You can also double click on the machine itself. And make sure this is exactly what you want it to be, because we do not need the guest editions here. What we need this to be is the Ubuntu. Every once in a while it just acts kind of goofy. So you can just click here and then do it here and pull up the image there, because it should be listed there. All right, so let's go ahead and exit out of there, and we'll go ahead and hit start. Give it just a minute here. It's going to go ahead and start opening up. Now go ahead and click yes to English and start Lubuntu. Going to do a little disk check. You can let it go do it, or you can hit Control C. It really doesn't matter. It's not going to impact anything. So I usually just let it do its thing really pretty quick. All right, there we go. It finally skipped the check, even though it pretty much completed it. Initialize. All right, now one of the things that I am going to do right off the bat is, I always forget where it is in Lubuntu, is go to Preferences, LXQT Settings, and then go to Monitor Settings and up this resolution, because this is small. 1360 by 768 tends to be the sweet spot as far as I go, just because it gives me enough real estate where I can also kind of see everything else that's going on. Do that, then click Apply. You can use whatever you want. Okay, we're good here, so we don't need that anymore. And if you do need to do if you want to go ahead and make it full screen, you can go ahead and do Control F. I'm sorry, right Control F as a default, and go ahead and hit switch. And that's still going to keep it the same size, but it will be full screen. We can go ahead and exit by doing the same thing in reverse. Clicking Control F. You can also do it in scaled mode, which will just kind of like basically stretch it out or shrink it down depending on the window size. And you could go ahead and put it up to the entire screen size. It's going to be solely up to yourself. I like to just keep it as a window, just in case something else is coming up in the background. All right, so now that we've got this updated here, now let's go ahead and go to install Lubuntu 20.04 LTS. And LTS stands for long-term support. When a distribution talks about long-term support, at least as far as these ones based on Ubuntu, that will be 5 years typically. Can be less. They will also introduce long-term supported editions in between now and then. They actually still support 16.04 as well, and they will do that until next year. All right, so here we go. We just want to make sure whatever language you want to use, go ahead and use that. Go ahead and update that here. I'm just going to leave it as American English because clearly I speak American English. Let's click next. I am in the Central Time Zone, so I'm going to go ahead and set this to Chicago. Oops. Go. All right, got that updated. Click next. All right, here, English default. My keyboards, a regular QWERTY. This is our drive right here. You can see the 25 gigabytes. And then we're going to go ahead and select right here to erase the disk and install. And it's already got it selected here because this disk is completely empty. All right, here now, I'm just going to call it, put my name in here, Brandon, and then it'll give you can change the name of this computer if you want. I'm just going to leave it like that. And then choose a password. Could also do it to log in automatically without a password. Really doesn't matter because I use this only for these purposes. I'm not going to be keeping anything on here that really means anything. So go ahead and do that. Then we'll click install. It's going to ask us to just basically confirm, and we're going to go ahead and install now. It shouldn't take too long to install Lubuntu. Lubuntu is not a super heavy distribution. So it's not going to take as long as, maybe a full-size distribution, such as Ubuntu, Linux Mint, or any of the other distributions that are out there. It still will take a little bit of time. I just wanted to be able to go ahead and actually walk you through the entire process of installed is really what I wanted to do. Because I a lot of throughout my journey in the tech world, I've found a lot of useful videos and resources on the internet, specifically YouTube, DuckDuckGo and Google searches and things like that. But sometimes, they leave out steps or there's things that they don't tell you. So I really am trying to make sure that all of that is going to end up being. I want to make sure that I'm able to kind of show you as much as possible. And keep in mind, I'm a human being and I'm probably going to forget to do things or not show you things or assume certain things. And, when something like that happens, feel free to call me out and request that I make sure that I'm covering everything. Don't be rude about it. That's all I ask. So while that's going ahead installing, let's go ahead and just kind of take a brief little look here at our resources that we're going to be using. You can just simply go to Ryan's Tutorials, search right here. Ryan's Tutorials, and we're going to be doing this Linux tutorial here. All right, let's go ahead and click on that. Here's where he's kind of just doing an intro to what he's going to be covering and things like that. I'm not going to be getting into that in this particular video. At this time, I'm going to, because I don't know if I'm actually going to be following his sections from front to back, because look at all this right here. There is 13 different modules. I may cut those into more, I may cut those into less. It really just depends on how things play out. I don't have a set in stone um, outline of this course. I'm just kind of doing it to be flexible because, sometimes I want to do things differently, or I may not necessarily want to go over something in the way that it is being done here. So really what I want to do here as the first season of this series is I want to go ahead and utilize Ryan's tutorials as kind of like as a basic overview of these concepts. And then once we do this, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and switch over to the Linux command line, which I did mention in the video last week, so that I can go ahead and work through those with you. Now, doing it this way, it will be redundant, but that is exactly the point. The more you practice, the more that you will retain, the more you utilize it. You have to use it or you will lose it, as cliche as that is. So that's why I'm going to do it that way. It's getting pretty close to being fully installed here. We're at 93%. So let's just give it a little bit more time to go ahead and finished here, giving you all the advertisements of all the different options. There we go, all done. So it's going to go ahead and let you, it's going to select to restart now. Just go ahead and hit done and let it restart. Okay, and just hit enter because we don't actually have a USB. All right, now we've got everything up here, and excuse that, I was actually responding to a text message while I was waiting for it up. I do apologize about that silence there, and that little clip. One of my friends sent me a picture of our friend's pie, so let's move on with the show. What happens when you do a live taping of this, even though I will just be uploading the video. And as I kind of stated last week, I would like to eventually get to the point where I actually do a full-on live show and not update this time. That's not something that we worry about. Again, we're going to go in here to preferences, the LXQ settings. This is LXQ settings. I'm going to go to monitor settings. Now that we've got everything installed, it should stay after this. It should just be because that was after the initial install, which is totally fine. Not too worried about it. All right, now perfect. All right, so when using most Ubuntu base distributions, to bring up your terminal, it'll be Control-Alt-T. It is a little bit different once you get to Pop! OS. Pop! OS kind of does their own thing. They use the Windows key, NT. I believe they call it the Pop key. That's neither here nor there. We've got this updated here. I'm going to go ahead and make it bigger. All right, and the first thing I want to go ahead and do is do a Pseudo Apt update, because what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be installing those guest editions. We may need them, we may not need them. It's really just going to depend on where this course takes us. So I just want to have them there just in case. This is always a good thing to do when you do install a new virtual machine within Virtualbox. All right, perfect. Now that we've got that installed, now we want to go ahead and just make sure that we install the tools and kernel headers for the current kernel, just to make sure that we've got everything that we need to go ahead and install the guest edition. So we're going to do a sudo apt install y build essential linux dash dash $, parentheses, uname, space R, and close parenthesis. Go ahead and hit enter. Let me just make sure I did everything correctly, and I did forget to go ahead and put the hyphen essential, and it's actually only build essential, so I do apologize. Again, I'm human and make mistakes, and that's what we're all here for, right? All right, so let's go ahead and hit enter, and boom, there we go. All right, so that is sudo apt install, then -y, build essential, build dash or build hyphen essential, and then space Linux hyphen headers hyphen $, parenthesis uname, space hyphen R, close parenthesis, hit enter, and give that just a minute here to go ahead and get all of this updated. The more kind of the reason I added more cores and more RAM is because this will make this doing this stuff like this a lot easier. Just a minute here to update that. Perfect. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a clear command here. Clear, it just basically clears all the stuff that's going on in the terminal. You can still access your previous commands. You can do it one of two ways. You can just go up if they're current, your current session, or you can go ahead and just do, I believe the default for history is 50, but we can see right there which ones that I did use, and there's that command again, just so I get another opportunity to show that. All right, perfect. So I'm just going to issue another clear. Now, the next thing we want to do is go up here to devices. We want to go ahead and select to insert guest additions image. Right, perfect. Now, if you go up in here, go ahead and get cancel. You should see it listed in here. Now, you see optical drives. They'll say remove disk from virtual drive. That is what is actually what is installed. You can see the little CD next to it, so we know that it is. All right, and actually, I don't think it went up. No, it did. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Just wanted to make sure that it did go in there. We've got that set up. We're going to go ahead and do a mount here. I'm not going to get into the specifics of these commands yet, but basically what we're doing is we're mounting a drive to the, we're mounting a file system. Or we're actually, in this case, we're mounting a device, which is going to be the CD-ROM. And typically, devices are going to be in the /media directory, which we will eventually get into further down the line in the course. We're going to do a sudo mount dev CD-ROM /media. I hit enter. Don't worry about that. All right, then we're going to go to cd/media /media, and we're there. We're going to do sudo / nope, well, auto-complete, fine. VBox Linux .run. All right, so that's going to be capital V, capital B, OX, capital L, INUX, additions, ADDITIONS .run. And we're going to go ahead and hit enter and let it do its thing. it a little bit of time here. Now, what I kind of want to do is while it's doing this, I'm going to go ahead and show you why I do recommend doing more resources when utilizing a virtual machine. Now, let's go ahead and open up another tab here in our terminal and run the command top. And you can see right here our memory. We have a total right here of 3. Right here is our total right here. We have quite a bit free, really, if we're looking at it. So we're hardly using any of it. And I actually really don't like using top. I don't use it very much. Let me actually give you an easier method let's do a sudo apt update. I'm going to show you a program called htop, which is so easy for monitoring system resources. I'm going to do a sudo apt install htop, and we're going to hyphen y so we don't get prompt. Oh, it looks like it's already here, so that's perfect. Okay, so htop. And we can see of the 3.84 total gigabytes that we have, we're only using 395 megabytes, and we're hardly using any CPU. This is part of the reason I like to have as many cores as I have, but this also kind of shows you that, even if you only able to use one core, you're really going to be fine. I'm only using 0.7% of my CPU. It is spiking up there to 100. That's completely normal. But keep in mind that if you only had a single core, this would end up slowing it down with spikes like that. And we're still only using 506 megabytes. So that is a kind of the reason that I recommend using more cores and more memory if you can. And again, htop is an option to be able to go ahead and kind of do a quick review of your system resources and processes. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control C to get out of there. We don't need this tab anymore, so let's X out of that. It is done over here. Now what we need to do is we need to do a reboot. So we're just going to type in reboot. A minute here to go ahead and reboot. And one of the things that I will tell you is as we're doing some of this stuff, there are going to be some things you'll notice that I'm not doing the easy way. But the thing is the easy way is the easy. Aren't going to necessarily learn anything if we're always doing. Got to do all the back end and difficult stuff before we get to the stuff. So we want to make sure we understand all that. Just like you got to eat your vegetables before you get the steak. And a lot of people really want the steak, so we want to make sure that we eat everything before we get that. So I give it just a minute here, folks. It's doing its update thing well, I shouldn't say update thing, but it is doing a reboot. Sometimes these virtual machines will act goofy. It's totally normal. It happens sometimes. They are virtual machines, and sometimes they don't always go according to the way that they should, and it's totally fine. Sometimes you just got to be patient. Sometimes you may need to power down this machine and then just relaunch it. Always try that. That is always one of the biggest steps in troubleshooting is, hey, did you restart it? That is what I ask everybody. And then second to that is, did you clear your cache and cookie? Not going to get it here because that is not relevant to our current topic. Perfect. And looks like it did leave it. So I'm going to go ahead and up the resolution. I'm hoping that it will eventually stop. If not, then You may have to just redo it every time. Okay, all that is updated here. Perfect. So we are all set. There we go. We've got our Lubuntu 20.04 virtual machine that is ready to go. It's going to be ready to start our Linux course. So again, that will be the next episode. Is just kind of starting to dive into it, and I highly recommend that you start looking up at his website. You know, it's going to be ryantutorials.net/Linux tutorial. That'll go ahead and give you the start. Look through the material. You can work through it before, and then come back and whatever. I'm not only here to help me, I'm here to help you. So whatever I can do to help both of us get through this journey together is fine by me. All right, so that is gonna take care of this week's Linux Sunday. So I really would like to thank you for checking out this week's video, and I look forward to learning more Linux with you. If you like the content that I'm making here, give me a thumbs up and let me know how much you like it down below. If you didn't like it, go ahead and give me a thumbs down and let me know what you didn't like about it down below. Leave a comment, you know, if you just want to say hi or have any feedback or suggestions for the channel. I really would like to say thank you again for watching my video and have a great rest of the